Chapter 7: Living with Radiation Dangers. There are unseen dangers surrounding you in your modern home, which have alarmed the Russian scientists, yet have little or no effect on scientists in your own country. We depend upon professed scientific persons for guidance and information on the dangers of new electronic gadgets and kitchen tools in our homes today. As we depend upon care and caution from our scientific leaders in the construction and safeguards of large energy installations. Due to a lack of understanding in applying basic laws of physics and nature, such guidance, information, care and caution are not adequate for our health. We have few scientists in our nation today who have the knowledge or the background to appraise the dangers of home appliances and food preparing equipment that is flooding the American market by modern high-pressure sales, advertising, and distribution organizations. In the higher energy installations already constructed, and in those projects planned and underway, information about safety for citizens is vague, confusing, and often incorrect. Arrogance and downright ignorance are persistent in conjunction with sincere, dedicated men, whose typical problem results from, quote, if it's not in the book, it's no good. What book said it? What expert told you? What college or university is the rule, rather than the proper criteria? Does it work better in science, and is it more beneficial to the well-being of the citizen? In the home, possibly the most dangerous of the new kitchen wonders are the microwave ovens. They are deadly if not operated properly. This information is usually in very small type in the manufacturer's instruction sheet, if you can find it. Government experts are busy writing new laws on everything, governing your life, what you eat and drink, what you wear, and what chemicals and drugs you can use, rules and regulations so numerous that many are forgotten after they are established. The American system is becoming more similar to the French government administration, basically adopted from the Napoleonic codes, where responsibility cannot be fixed on an individual in government. Where are these government experts, these wonders of the modern age? Spokesmen are profusely available, but who are the parties responsible for these rules and regulations? If you write to a government-sponsored scientific organization, you may receive the following answer, quote, "We can't tell you who they are, as they are the government's brain bank." All we can say to the responses we have received from our inquiries is it would appear our brain bank is bankrupt. The brain bank has lost something. Maybe it never had in the first place. What it is, we don't know, and we doubt if the government is about to tell us if they know. This secrecy in preserving sources of scientific rules and regulations enacted by administration agencies and our Congress is not unique to government. It also exists in the large electronic and drug interests that daily affect your safety and welfare. The Soviet Union has issued a number of reports on the dangers of microwaves to human health and welfare. The Soviet Union knows much about microwaves The Soviet Union knows so much about microwaves that they are used in that nation's Cold War against American embassies, and American scientists are still confused in this scientific application by the Russians. Russian scientific reports indicate safety standards of microwaves many times lower than is allowed by American brain bank for permissible radiations from microwaves. In our book, Magnetism and its Effects on the Living System, Exposition Press, 1974, We attempted to call to the attention of those responsible for the welfare of our people the dangers of pulsing electromagnetic energies. We have published the danger existing not only in the range of frequencies by pulsing electromagnetic waves, such as in a microwave oven, but also in the transmission of pulsing electromagnetic waves and resulting energies. Our advice has not been heeded, and the giant electronic interests are having a field day at your possible expense. New investigations into microwaves have been initiated by our government. Some results are published, but the investigations are continuing. The findings reported and the future findings to be reported are predictable to anyone who follows these government-funded research undertakings. As with the reports on saccharin and other sweeteners, published results on microwave hazards indicate that if you radiate enough microwaves down the throats of rats and mice, they will show first-generation effects. But if research is conducted properly, there will appear mutations of organic organs and genetic patterns in the second, third, and further generations from these test animals. Since the researchers are using the old book-worn theories as basic science law for their investigations, they will not be successful as they could be if our published discoveries were applied to their research. Also, rodents, rats, mice, rabbits, cats, and dogs are not human beings. The results of overexposure to these dangerous electromagnetic energies will more readily, quote, appear in further generations of human beings. Dangerous effects will show in the first generation if basic laws of physics and nature are followed, knowing specific symptoms to observe. This does not seem to be the present government program. Considering the lack of knowledge of our scientific brain bank, the advertising and pressure power of the industrial giants and manufacturing interests, and the current safety standards far too high of the environmental protection agencies, we have a responsibility to you. We suggest you simply not buy any microwave gadget, supersonic mixer, or other product we have continually warned the public and scientific community against through information in our publications. If you must purchase these products, then we suggest you use them with the utmost caution. Any food mixer, food fluid extractor, juicer, or juice extractor which has its electric motor against, on top, or directly underneath the food will transmit powerful alternating and electromagnetic pulsing energy into and through the juices, fluids, and foods. This will neutralize some of the nutrients in these materials, because alternating currents and voltages help to dissolve many of the food constants and values. Further, these alternating energies act to change food, fluids, vegetable, and fruit juices, as well as chopped, grated, and blended foods. The changes in materials will continue after the equipment is shut off, and the materials are placed in the refrigerator, cooler, or storage container. Consider that over 100 years ago, the eminent scientist Faraday established guidelines for lines of force in energy research. From his theory, which has proved incorrect, most if not all of our present mathematics and accepted science understandings on frequencies, vibrations, and waves of energy have evolved. You can make kitchen items that do an intended job. You can build engines that perform magnificently. You can explode bigger and more devastating bombs. This does not mean you understand the science of what you are doing. The ever apparent fault in government research, as in the research of the large manufacturing and electronic interests, is a lack of understanding in basic fundamental research. We have seen this expressed many times from the problems we are asked to solve by some of these powerful interests. The laws and regulations enacted by our Congress and government administrative agencies are also evidence of this lack of comprehension. We still feel that the basic ignorance in a number of these difficulties is that of not properly understanding and applying the separate and distinct energies of magnetism. In the use of kitchen apparatus, there seems to be no apparent concern about nor basic understanding of the radiations from simple motors used for these devices. The environmental guidelines of the government agencies are incorrect and misleading in showing a lack of understanding about electromagnetic energies. In respect to the importance of electromagnetic energies for military and scientific competence between nations, as well as the general welfare of citizens in their environments, the treaties published by US agencies are frightening in their absence of basic scientific facts. Special reference is here made for explanatory purposes to EPA publications 520/2-76-008 entitled An Examination of Electric Fields under EHV Overhead Power Transmission Lines, April 1977. The publication by the Office of Radiation Programs, U.S. Environmental Agency, ORP/EAD-77-2, entitled An Investigation of Broadcast Intensities at Mount Wilson, California, April 1977, and Environmental Health Perspectives, Volume 20, page 143, October 1977. Magnetic flux, energy, from a kitchen mixer near the handle is given at 2 Gauss, and from an electric drill near the handle at 1 Gauss. This information is, frankly, ridiculous. Our research indicates 300 to 500 alternating AC Gauss for these mentioned items, including radio frequency waves, which the Environmental Protection Agency does not claim. The radio frequency waves are pulsing energy of 60 cycles per second, CPS, up to 150 million CPS or more. The Environmental Protection Agency does not know or will not acknowledge these facts. Scientific studies in foreign countries verifying these dangers are ignored, such as the findings from pulsating generators on factory workers published by the Institute of Industrial Hygiene and Occupational Disease, Praha, Srobarova, Czechoslovakia, mentioned in Science News, Volume 96, October 4, 1969. High AC magnetic energy and radio frequency waves pass directly through the body of the electric drill operator and, over a prolonged period of time, will cause serious bacteriological changes. It is misleading and dangerous for the consumer to believe such small amounts of energy come from these well-used appliances. What is the problem in the government not identifying these potential hazards? We submit the following hypotheses. 1. They are not distinguishing between DC and AC as their measurements indicate DC readings, whereas the AC radiations are the most dangerous. A. An electric drill was placed against the stomach of a laboratory rat for 30 minutes once a day for 30 days. After the death of the rat, examination showed the prostate gland had dissolved, and this was only one of the effects from the deadly AC radiation of an electric drill. The hand of a human being would not have the energy saturation to the degree of the laboratory rat, but such a simple experiment as described does show the danger to human beings. Number 2. The charts and written information of the EPA do not reflect the vast range of effects from radio frequency energy, nor AC pulsing electromagnetic energy present from the operation of such instruments. Number 3. The government agencies have ignored other foreign work in the field that establishes the danger of these energies, such as the Institute in Czechoslovakia. Number 4. Possibly the instruments used to measure these energies are not the proper instruments to measure dangerous energy emanations. The testing instruments that should be used are static field analysis equipment and radio frequency detection equipment that operate within the radio frequency range, as opposed to instruments for the detection of atomic radiations. Number 5. There is a lack of understanding about applying the divisible energies of magnetism in relation to other energy forms. We suggest that the government agencies reconsider their findings and investigate more thoroughly the dangerous effects of pulsing AC electromagnetic energies, including high-frequency radio waves, on human beings, and in our society. Such waves are not confined to electric drills and kitchen mixers. The food disposal unit in your home is physically dangerous. Caution is necessary to avoid mutilation of the fingers, especially of children, or injury from flying particles ejected in operation. The greater danger is the AC alternating current radiation pulsing more energy than your food mixer. Can your food disposal unit affect foods placed near the unit when in operation? You should not have foods you will consume on a shelf or a working table near the food disposal unit. The pulsing electromagnetic energies generated by the unit travel unseen in electromagnetic wave vibrations in space and could damage or alter the values of these foods. When any food has been juiced, squeezed, pressed, blended, or fluid extracted, the nutritional value is less than left intact. Nutrients of food are held in the fibrous cells of vegetables and fruits, protected by their natural composition. When air reaches these inside fibers, decomposition is hastened. The longer such foods are exposed to air, the less nutrient value remains. An example of such a natural food would be wheatgrass juice. The tender young wheatgrass shoots are full of natural nourishment, but as soon as they are pressed or blended to extract their healthful juice, the air reaches the fluids and loss of nutrient value occurs. Add this to the loss of nutrients experienced with the pulsing alternating energies of a food blender motor, and you have aggravated decomposition. When you select an electrically powered juicer or blender, try to find one with the motor to the side, away from the food bowl or container. Have a jar or other airtight container available to place the foods or fluids into after extracting or blending. Do not delay in placing the finished materials, into a refrigerator or cooling device. The heat in the food caused by the pulsing energies should not be allowed to remain while hastening decomposition. It is far safer, in our opinion, to use hand-pressed methods, hand-operated blenders and juicers, without adding heat and pulsing electromagnetic energies to your foods for this type of food preparation. Use your own common sense in opposition to the experts who say AC energies are too low in these kitchen apparatus to cause difficulties. The experts also say that microwave levels are too low for danger, and they go on investigating, applying laws of physics proved inaccurate. Another area of importance for your well-being in your kitchen has to do with your lighting system. Our research into the effects of lights on animals, human beings, and their natural environments is still continuing, although it started with our research into magnetism many years ago. Dr. John Oates is perhaps more responsible than any man for the public awareness literature on how different colours and lighting systems affect your health. His book, Health and Light, Devin Adair, 1973, has wide circulation in subsequent paperback editions. In our communications with Dr. Oates, as with other scientists, our findings in this research have been proved supported. Fluorescent lights radiate many forms of energies, including ultraviolet radiations, X-ray forms, and AC electromagnetic energies. When these types are ignited, the gas flows, producing AC voltages and currents. Dr. Oates found, as we had discovered, that weak X-rays and ultraviolet rays are generated by these white, daylight, or tone light fluorescent lamps. We recommend no fluorescent lamps in your kitchen where you prepare your foods, since the possibility is strong that they adversely affect your foods. Also, if you work under these types of radiating lamps, indications are that they affect your physical well-being, tending to cause depressed feelings. Of interest in our research are our findings on the effects of colour and light on biological life. Here you can apply common sense for your health by considering how colours affect growing plants, which are biological living systems. Red lights promote growth, green lights slow and retard growth, yellows and blues are moderators. In this sense, moderate means the plants do not grow, as well as in the pink light, red light, or natural sunlight. Dr. Oates and other researchers believe from their findings that persons working under pink or red light will be overly sensitive and less composed, while incandescent white lights will lessen these reactions in human beings. We find a comparison between red light and the south pole energy of a magnet. In fact, it has become our laboratory policy in identifying magnets to paint south poles of magnets with red paint. In a similar comparison, we paint north poles of laboratory magnets with green paint. The south pole of a magnet will promote seed or plant growth, while the north pole magnetic energy will arrest growth. These are notable exceptions in our agricultural research. Most notable is corn, which responds stronger in growth to the north magnetic energies in the treatments of seeds with separate magnetic energies. Our patent granted on this process by the US Patent Office and now filed and accepted in many foreign countries has this exception and our new method of using separate magnetic energies to promote agricultural yield and nutrient increases. Other exceptions, including the growth of certain flowering plants, we believe may be due to the historical, environmental, and genetic beginning of the plant. For example, our research would indicate that corn was once a product produced below the surface of the earth, such as peanuts are today. We have emphasized throughout our research on biological systems that human beings, as well as plants and animal life, although similar in form, are each indivisibly different. The conclusion remains that what affects plants and natural growing life does affect human beings, their emotions, and their physical well-being. Allow nature to aid you in your kitchen by placing a small growing plant in your kitchen area. The plant can be a natural alarm system in warning you of improper lighting, air, or dangerous energies for the woman who spends most of her time in the kitchen area. In the child's room, or with the man or woman in the office, use a growing plant to warn of impending danger. If indoor plants take on an unhealthy appearance, and it is not the result of too much or too little fertilizer and water, there is a reason that could affect your health. Your growing plants and vegetables, outside as well as within your home, should be a guide for more healthful living. The food you consume, in one manner or another, is the result of growing natural vegetation, plants, fruits, vines, trees, bushes, and herbs. You are a part of your environment in this sense, so be open-minded to the knowledge these growing natural creations can impart to you. There is need for your system to receive the benefits from sunlight. It is one matter to overexpose yourself to sunlight. It is another to receive the quantity of natural light your system requires. Moderation is often the guide for common sense, as well as science. Without natural light, your plants and you may die. Allow sunlight to enter your home, and if only indirectly through your windows, and you and your plants will be more healthy. Light is life, and life is light. Don't shut out your life, this important gift of nature, natural light. In the environment. While England and other countries prefer to install high-tension wires beneath the ground, in the United States, we place the great majority of these dangerous sources of radiation in the open air. Eventually, they will cause a change in the protective ozone layers that surround the Earth. High-tension wires produce pulsing, alternating energy, which can cause headaches, loss of memory and hearing, decrease in sexual potency, and changes in the menstrual cycle, with the accompanying psychological results. Although still under investigation by a number of governmental agencies, evidence of substantial concern for these radiation dangers has been previously published in Science News, Volume 105, June 29, 1974, page 418, Volume 96, October 4, 1969, page 276. Reporting the results of pulsating generators on workers in Praha, Strobarova, Czechoslovakia. Pulsating alternating current, AC, electromagnetic energy emanates from, to name a few, broadcasting stations, television stations, shortwave stations, intercontinental communication systems, radio telephones, power lines, and generally anything with an electric motor, including microwave ovens and radar antennas. These energies are going through your body when you are awake and asleep. Your system never has a moment's rest from the constant bombardment of these signals. We have lost the natural life. Our present mode of living has destroyed our identification with a natural life. We will find in the near future that, unless this vast proliferation of energies is controlled, there will be serious consequences for all human beings. Indications are now evident that our genetic structure may be undergoing changes that, although not readily apparent, will appear in future generations. And it is not unforeseeable that unscrupulous persons could manipulate very high energy electromagnetic fields into the atmosphere to actually cause a change in the weather. What is more frightening is the possibility that these energies can be directed to an area or nation to reduce the growth and production of food supplies by controlled climatic changes. This area of the world would then be under the dependence of the persons or nation exercising these energies. The woman's conventional hairdryer produces energy from 60 CPS cycles per second to 200 million CPS. Imagine these amounts of energies pulsing through your heads. Are these energies giving you a false sense of stimulation? Are they causing premature aging? These are pulsing AC energies directly into your brain and throughout your entire system. You leave your kitchen to go to the supermarket, you get into your car and turn on the ignition, the motor starts, the spark plugs are firing intense blue electromagnetic sparks. The energy of each spark plug is many thousands of times stronger than the energy from a hairdryer. The energy from your car's spark plugs fill the inside of your car when the motor is operating, constantly bombarding you with electromagnetic energies of AC pulsing energy. You arrive at the supermarket and leave your car, entering the supermarket under the most intense radiation of hundreds of fluorescent lamps containing low emissions of X-ray and ultraviolet radiation, which are combined with AC electromagnetic pulsing energy. Walking over to one of the large refrigerator display counters, you are radiated by very strong AC electromagnetic pulsing energy from the motors operating the refrigerators. Perhaps you go to a dispenser for a sandwich, cold drink, or a cup of coffee, insert a coin that immediately activates a motor, producing AC electromagnetic pulsing energy that saturates not only you, but your sandwich, cup of coffee, and cold drink. You finish your shopping and leave the supermarket in your saturated AC electromagnetic pulsing energy enclosure. As your car travels on the pavement, static electricity is built up and, if a dry day in weather, a toll attendant may receive a shock from your touch, as you would transmit the additional electromagnetic energy from the pavement to your car and through you to the toll collector. Your car is grounded, protecting you from lightning striking your car. The build-up of static electricity is a different matter. You've probably noticed all oil trucks dragging a chain on the roadway to ground out static charges. When you arrive home, perhaps you turn on a small television set near you in the kitchen or you turn on your vacuum cleaner, again saturating yourself with AC electromagnetic pulsing energy. Anything in your environment and in your home that functions from the usual 118 volts, 60 cycles, produces AC electromagnetic pulsing energy. This includes your TV set, electric razor, electric toothbrush, your kitchen toaster, icebox, and your microwave oven, with its additional microwave dangers. If you escape for a day in your motorboat, your golfing cart, your motorcycle, or use an electric blanket, you're saturated with AC electromagnetic pulsing energy. Buses, aeroplanes, and trains saturate you with the AC electromagnetic pulsing energy. We have mentioned in the previous publications the South Pole direct energy in your telephone receiver, but now we mention what happens to your energy system, which you are trying to balance and function, when you hear a voice on the telephone. The voice tone is direct current flowing around a magnet that is sending direct pulsing energy into your brain. The sound frequency of the voice acts to change the DC, direct current, into pulses of AC. Our research, verified independently, indicates that AC electromagnetic pulsing energy can be detrimental to your health. In Vietnam, the Western Allies attempted to research into the control of weather. Weather and climate control have always been a factor in any military action and have influenced the outcome of wars. As history tells us clearly, war is not limited to military operations and, by its definition, is, quote, any state of violent opposition or contest, hostility, strife. Webster's Unabridged Dictionary. We have seen drastic changes in the world climate conditions. Theories are rampant, from the approaching ice age to nuclear explosions, affecting these changes. Long droughts, excessive precipitation, snowstorms, and ice conditions have been unusual in relation to reasonable cycles of climate behavior. Tremendous surges of electromagnetic energy, millions and millions of watts, have been pulsed into our atmosphere. We believe from the evidence available and our knowledge of this science that the upper strata atmospheric winds that control our weather have been changed. All during the summer months of 1977. These enormous bursts of pulsing electromagnetic energy interfered with communications throughout the world. The US government complained to the Russian government. It is our additional belief, from our research of the science and other facts presented, that the Russians may have discovered a way to pulse electromagnetic high-intensity energy into the upper atmosphere. We believe it will be verified that the Russians are actively pursuing this control of atmospheric weather through the research into pulsing electromagnetic energy. Nuclear energy installations. Consider the hypocrisy of storing atomic waste deep in salt deposits or ocean waters in order to safeguard humanity. Where is the proper concern for the future of humanity on the part of our government and big money interests, and the scientists who support this program? Who are they to arbitrarily state that nature will not cause an upheaval, earthquake, or other natural disaster, releasing this killing radiation? And the scientific experts cannot unequivocally state with finality that leaks of radiation will not occur without an assisting natural catastrophe. Under these circumstances, why is the program continued? Is it because of a bureaucratic jungle so entwined with its own mistakes that the woods cannot be seen for the trees? Is it ignorance, greed, selfishness, ego, arrogance? We don't know the answer, nor do we believe the persons directly involved have the answer. Why when a project does not work satisfactorily for the future of humanity, are millions, even billions of dollars continuously poured into the project? Perhaps we don't like to admit mistakes, or we trust in some blind fate that will solve all our problems, regardless of our free will actions. The science applied to nuclear energy installations and to methods of storing atomic waste is inaccurate. It is built upon a lack of applying the separate energies of magnetism to nuclear energy forms and to matter existing in nuclear waste. It is not unforeseeable to the authors that a proper understanding and application of the separate energies of magnetism may solve the major problems of radiation and explosive dangers of nuclear energy installations. Or have we decided to, quote, chance it, come what may? As expressed by Dr. Andrew McLean, Director of Britain's National Radiological Project Board, NRPB, quote, limits on radiation dose are now regarded as long stops instead of starting points in the protective strategy. The new approach is summed up in just two new buzzwords: justification and optimization. Justification means that no source of exposure should be unjustified in relation to its benefits or those of any available alternative. New Scientist, 20 October 1977, page 132. Optimization simply means hoping the future will not prove the approach incorrect. This is, in other words, that seem more exact, taking a chance that humanity will not be destroyed. The authors believe that the possibility of neutralizing atomic material and downgrading the radiation is plausible where there would be no need for storage. If scientists would apply the new knowledge we have published, this may be a solution to neutralizing atomic waste. In the construction of these large nuclear energy installations, one of the principal dangers is the control of the reactor. The reactor is an atomic pile that produces heat and boils water to produce energy as required. The atomic pile is purified uranium fuel in pellet form inside specially constructed tubes placed in the core of the reactor. Plutonium rods are placed against the tubes of purified uranium. When the rods are raised away from the purified uranium core, the interaction starts to produce heat, which boils water. As the rods are raised, the temperature increases, and as the rods are lowered, the temperature decreases. What you have is a controlled atomic bomb. A, quote, safe atomic system keeps the reactor from, quote, running away, producing more heat than the reactor can take. If this did occur, you would have nuclear fusion, with the accompanying explosion and deadly radiation. And it has been expressed by competent authority that the explosion occurring downward into the earth can reach the molten lava within the earth, with results occurring that could foreseeably destroy Earth's civilization. This is why the shutdown safety procedures are so important, as are the radiation "leaks" that may occur from unusual operation of the system. Water flowing around a reactor becomes radioactive, so if any part of the piping system develops a leak, you have steam and deadly contaminants. There is no apparent control over possible cracks in the pipes that would release radioactive water, except warning devices and monitors indicating radioactivity has increased dangerously, which is noticed during or after deadly radiation is occurring. There is a shortage of plutonium, making these large energy installations obsolete by the 21st century, and all the monies, time and energy will have gone to naught. The fast breeder reactor plant can produce its own fuel of plutonium, thus not having to replace this short supply material. Yet, a small quantity of plutonium in a city reservoir could contaminate the health of millions of persons. There is approximately a 20-year supply of uranium available, whereas the fast breeder, with uranium as a fuel, could produce plutonium without using enormous supplies of uranium. The present use and planned use of plutonium in non-fast breeder reactors is neither economical nor satisfactory for future supply of energy, and the fast breeder reactor has the same dangers of radiation, explosion, and atomic waste. The fast breeder reactor can be extremely deadly in producing its own plutonium, which is the most deadly form of energy known to man. Our future in energy. We believe the future of economical energy supply is in the research and development of hydrogen as a safe, non-volatile fuel. Hydrogen is an endless source of energy. The knowledge available on hydrogen, properly applied and developed, could make this fuel as safe, if not safer, than gasoline. To further emphasize the situation now existing with large energy installations, we quote a number of facts found by the Union of Concerned Scientists. 1208 Massachusetts Avenue, Cambridge, Massachusetts. An organization that was the first independent group of scientists to carry out a major review of the safety of nuclear plants. Quote, a typical nuclear power plant contains an amount of radioactive material equal to the radioactive fallout from thousands of Hiroshima-sized weapons. The fear is not that these plants will explode like an atomic bomb, but much of this radioactive material is gaseous and could easily be carried by the wind for many miles if accidentally released, and it can be accidentally released. Quote, one accident from one plant could kill as many as 45,000 people, cause 17 billion in property damages, and contaminate an area the size of Pennsylvania. In the next 25 years, the nuclear industry wishes to construct almost 1,000 such plants. Quote, the basic safety system in nuclear plants designed to prevent such accidents, known as the Emergency Core Cooling System, ECCS, has never actually been tested under realistic accident conditions. And when it was tested on small-scale laboratory models, the system consistently failed to function properly. Quotes: "The history of 63 nuclear plants now operating in the United States shows many malfunctions of major equipment, operator errors, and design defects, as well as continuing evidence of shoddy construction practices, as well as poor welding, upside-down installation of critical components, etc." Quote: "No safe way has been demonstrated to dispose of the millions of gallons of lethal nuclear wastes. These radioactive wastes, created when spent fuel is removed from the reactors, are among the most dangerous cancer-causing substances known to man. Radioactive wastes remain harmful for centuries, a grim legacy from present nuclear plants to future generations." Quote: "Present safeguards are inadequate to prevent plutonium, a byproduct of commercial reactors that can be used in making atomic bombs, from being hijacked by terrorists or others who wish to sabotage or blackmail the United States government." Quote: "The nuclear industry looks forward to ever-increasing sales of reactors abroad. Industry pressure to start the move towards plutonium as a fuel enhances present fears that these reactors are the stepping stones for nuclear weapons. If unchecked, the proliferation of nuclear weapons will make the world an increasingly dangerous place." In our research with hydrogen, we have discovered it can be processed as less critical and safer to handle through the use of electromagnetic treatment, and without chemicals or special process equipment now in development. For example, one of the present concepts utilizing hydrogen fuel involves a 2,000-pound tank in the operation of a small bus mobile. With our system, using magnetic fields, the hydrogen could be made less critical and safer as a never-ending, unlimited source of fuel. Our tank in a small bus mobile would be a conventional, moderate-sized steel tank. Here again we see the lack of applying the basic physics of the separate energies of magnetism. Still, we believe our system is plausible. By applying separate energies of magnetism to the treatment of hydrogen and other types of fuel, the combustion or fuel burn will increase, and thereby reducing the present need for the consumption of oil and other fuels. The following information from our research findings is submitted to the reader to have a more thorough understanding as to how the separate and divisible energies of magnetism can conserve and improve fuel energies. This is material basic to our research and included in our patents, and it should be in every elementary textbook on energy and physics. Most of this information, you may observe, will not be found in existing books and treatises on the subject. Example 1. To demonstrate one effect of a north unipolar magnetic field on water, 500 ccs of common tap water at 65 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit was placed in a glass beaker, such that the water was exposed only to the energies of the North Pole field. The measurable field at the beaker was adjusted to 1000 Gauss, conventional techniques were used to determine the surface tension in dynes of a control sample of the tap water before exposure. Following exposure for a specified period, the surface tension in dynes was again determined. This test was repeated for a number of water samples for different exposure periods. Table 1 sets forth the resulting surface tension in dynes above or below that measured control sample as a function of exposure time, inasmuch as absolute values of surface tension will vary depending upon variables such as geography and water source. It is only the difference in surface tension between exposed and unexposed water which is believed to be significant. Table 1. 1000 Gauss North Pole Field with the headings Exposure Time Minutes and Surface Tension dynes above plus or below minus control. Half plus 0.5, 1 plus 1.0, 2 plus 1.5, 3 plus 3.0, 4 plus 4.0, 5 plus 3.5, 30 plus 3.6, 60 1 hour plus 3.6, 600 10 hours plus 3.6, 1440 24 hours plus 3.6. It is apparent from these tests that exposure of water to the North Pole field of a magnet increases the surface tension of the water. Maximum effect of the north magnetic field appears to be attained in about 3 to 4 minutes. Increased exposure does not appear to increase the effect on the surface tension of water. Example 2. The tests of example 1 were repeated, except the plastic beakers were used and the polarity of the electromagnet was reversed to expose the samples to 1000 Gauss of south unipolar field energies. The same surface tension determinations were made after each exposure and compared with the controlled sample. Table 2 sets forth the results. Table 2. 1000 Gauss South Pole Field with the headings Exposure Time Minutes and Surface Tension dynes above plus or below minus control. Half minus 0.4, 1 minus 1.2, 2 minus 1.7, 3 minus 3.5, 4 minus 4.0, 5 minus 4.2, 30 minus 3.7, 60 1 hour minus 4.3, 600 10 hours minus 4.0, 1440 24 hours minus 4.3. Exposure of water to South Pole magnetic fields decreases surface tension. Maximum effect of the south magnetic field appears to be attained in about 3 to 5 minutes. Increased exposure time does not appear to significantly increase the effect on the surface tension of water. Example 3. Apparatus was assembled using a conventional electromagnet and a standard ferrous metal water pipe having half-inch ID and 8/4 inch OD. The poles of the magnet had a field strength of 1000 Gauss, and one of the poles was placed in contact with the conduit. Magnetometer and Gauss meter measurements confirmed that the applied magnetic field was conducted in both directions along the conduit and was detectable, albeit weaker with increasing distance from the source. many feet away from the point at which the source was applied. Water, having a previously determined surface tension, was permitted to flow under pressure through the conduits, including the portions thereof carrying the applied magnetic fields. The time to traverse the magnetic field was measured, as was the surface tension of the water exiting the magnetic field. The test was run using both North and South Pole fields for application to the flowing water. In addition, the tests were repeated using a conventional bar magnet in lieu of an electromagnet. The results in all cases substantially corresponded to those in tables 1 and 2, indicating that the magnetic field effect for a given field strength and time of exposure is unaffected by whether or not the fluid is stationary or flowing, or by the type of magnetic field source. Example 4. Samples of water which have been exposed to the North Magnetic Pole field and to the South Magnetic Pole field for sufficient time, as can be determined from tables 1 and 2, to achieve approximately maximum surface tension changes of about plus 4.0 for North Pole exposed water and minus 4.0 for South Pole exposed water, was collected and used to germinate seeds and as the water source for plants grown in a test plot. Germination time, rate of plant growth, and various plant characteristics were observed and noted during the tests. It was concluded that seeds and plants treated with water subjected to South Pole field energies fared best. The effect of the water being to reduce germination times and to improve the growth and development characteristics of the plants. This is believed due to the decreased surface tension of the water, permitting more rapid penetration and absorption. On the other hand, seeds and plants treated with North Pole field exposed water exhibited decreased germination and growth rates and seemed generally stunted by the water treatment. Example 5. Common tap water was collected and the free dissolved nitrogen content thereof determined to be 1.2 ppm. The tap water was permitted to flow in a conduit at the rate of 5 gallons per minute through an applied unipolar magnetic field of 1000 Gauss. The exposure time in traversing the field was 0.1 seconds. In a first test, the applied field was a North Pole field. In a second test, the applied field was a South Pole field. Following each test, the free dissolved nitrogen concentration in the tap water was determined with the following results. A table with the headings Applied Pole and Free Dissolved Nitrogen ppm. North 0.64, South 0.57. Example 6. To determine whether alternating exposure to North and South unipolar fields affected the water chemistry any differently, the test of example 5 was repeated using an electromagnet connected to a 60 cycle 110 volt AC source. The free dissolved nitrogen concentration of the tap water exposed to this field for 0.1 seconds was determined to be 0.32 ppm. All of the many effects of exposing water and other fluid type materials to applied unipolar North or South Pole fields cannot, of course, be catalogued herein. However, in addition to the effects herein before discussed, it is particularly noteworthy that chilled water which has been North Pole exposed has been found to provide fuel economies when injected, preferably as a fine spray, into the combustion chambers of fuel combusting devices. such as into the cylinders of internal combustion engines. Such a use for water is, of course, not new. However, exposure of the water to the north magnetic pole to achieve more efficient combustion than is attainable with magnetically untreated water used for the same purpose has not heretofore been suggested. Another noteworthy effect is that South Pole exposed steam exhibits improved properties which makes its use more beneficial than untreated steam in a number of applications. Example 7 illustrates one such instance. Example 7. An electromagnetic unipolar magnetic south pole source was installed surrounding a steam line, and the source was powered by applied 60 CPS AC. Generally, the installation was similar to an apparatus wherein the steam was first exposed to a North Pole field and then to a South Pole field before exiting the magnetic fields. The steam was recycled to a firebox, where it was used in a conventional manner to increase combustion efficiency. Normally, the efficiency of a firebox is a function of fuel and oxygen exposure to the flame and of the extent of mixing attainable. In conventional systems, mixing to the extent of flame spinning 1 or 2 turns is considered good, even with steam recycling. The South Pole source was positioned upstream of the firebox to expose the steam just prior to injection into the firebox. Using magnetically exposed steam for recycling, 20 turns in the firebox was achieved, evidencing about 13 times better mixing than with untreated steam. The attainment of better combustion in the firebox as a result of using South Pole magnetically treated steam was evidenced by less smoke, a better modulated fuel demand, and a more rapid increase in steam pressure to the desired level. In still another unique application, magnetically treated liquids, such as water, have been found to effectively contribute to the prevention, loosening, and removal of crust and scale from the inner surfaces of metal, e.g. iron, copper, conduits, boilers, tanks, sewage systems, and the like. South Pole exposed liquids, which have an expanding quality, appear to be most useful. It is believed that exposure to South Pole magnetic fields decreases the tendency of water to deposit its minerals, e.g. calcium, and may increase the solubility of minerals in the water. In addition, the application of alternating north and south unipolar magnetic fields to fluids flowing through scaled conduits, which has net effect most similar to a South Pole field, as has been described generally in connection with example 6, has been found to be particularly effective in reducing crust and scale buildup on conduit walls. Example 8. In one instance, an operating cupola was cooled by passing cooling water over a heat transfer surface associated with the cupola. The prior experience was that operations had to be shut down and the scale buildup cleaned from the heat transfer surfaces every 2 weeks in order to maintain an acceptably efficient level of heat transfer. A South Pole magnetic source, similar to the one used in example 7, was installed on the cooling water-fed conduit at a point upstream of the heat exchange surface to treat the cooling water with north magnetic pole energies, followed by south magnetic pole energies prior to heat exchange. After 4 months of continuous operation, heat transfer rates at the cupola heat transfer surface have remained consistently high, and there has been no scale build-up or need to clean the heat transfer surfaces. The beneficial effects of exposing fluid-type materials to north or south unipolar magnetic field energies are observable with organic as well as inorganic liquids. Thus, South Pole exposed fuels and oils, like water, are highly sensitive to environmental conditions and react more rapidly on exposure to heat, as in a combustion chamber, than unexposed fuels and oils. For example, it has been observed that South Pole exposed flammable liquids burn more efficiently and provide an improved explosive result when employed as a fuel in a power or energy generating device. As a result, there have been overall fuel savings which contribute to economy of operation. The following examples illustrate some of the beneficial effects of exposing an exemplary oil, such as asphalt oil, to the unipolar energies of a South Pole magnetic field. Example 9. In a conventional process for preparing an asphalt oil aggregate paving mix, the oil is typically heated to 250 to 320 degrees Fahrenheit, usually about 290 degrees Fahrenheit, and then mixed with previously heated aggregate to form a mix having a pre-selected oil content, ranging from about 4 to 8%, depending upon its intended use. To demonstrate the effect of the south unipolar magnetic field, an AC 60 CPS powered 1000 Gauss electromagnet, such as the apparatus mentioned in example 7, was installed along the conduit between the oil heating units and the aggregate mixing unit to expose heated oil to the south magnetic pole. In passing through the electromagnets, the oil was first exposed to the north magnetic pole energies and thereafter exposed to the south magnetic pole energies. A. The time to complete oil aggregate mixing in a conventional non-magnetic system to form a commercially acceptable mix was typically 45 seconds. The corresponding time to form a commercially acceptable mix using South Pole exposed oil was 23 seconds. This observation that South Pole magnetically exposed oil appeared to be absorbed and to penetrate more rapidly permitted a significantly increased efficiency in plant operation, since mixing time was a limiting factor in plant outputs. B. The fuel requirements for the oil heating units in the conventional system, which typically receives recycled oil, to consistently discharge a 290 degree Fahrenheit oil to the mixing unit were determined. It was noted during operation, with the South Pole source installed and using the same amount of fuel, that the temperature of the oil leaving the oil It was noted during operation with the South Pole source installed and using the same amount of fuel that the temperature of the oil leaving the oil heating unit was 320 degrees Fahrenheit. As a result, the fuel supply to the oil heating unit could be reduced by about 2/3 in order to return the system to a condition wherein the oil heating unit discharged 290 degree Fahrenheit oil. This resulted in considerable fuel savings. C. The system was operated in a conventional manner, and all flow controls were set to supply sufficient oil and aggregate to produce a 4.5% weight asphalt oil containing mix. Standard tests to ascertain the mix makeup verified that a 4.5% asphalt mix was being produced. The system was then operated with the South Pole source installed and all other settings the same. 3 separate runs were made and the standard test conducted to verify the mix makeup. The test showed the mixes contained respectively 5.6%, 5.0% and 5.4% asphalt. Thus, the same quantity of oil as had previously produced a 4.5% mix, when subjected to a unipolar south magnetic field prior to mixing, produced a 5 to 5.6% mix. This observation allowed a significant cutback in the asphalt oil quantity supplied to the aggregate mixing unit and resulted in considerable savings in oil. The information given in the examples is basic information. Our research is progressing in the energy field. By the time of this publication, a patent application is programmed from our advanced research in energy that will give 15 to 25% fuel savings.